Hello, welcome to another episode of the Sippin and Trippin Podcast, where we connect with amazing people. I am your host, Desmond Black, and the person that's sipping and tripping with me today is a returning guest by the name of Danny Wolff. Welcome back, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you been?
Just living life, man. It's ups and downs, ups and downs. That's the way of life.
Yeah, I hear you're recovering.
Oh yeah. I was sick last week, so I didn't have an episode last week. So it saddened me though, because I try to stay consistent. But yeah,
We'll
it's
get
hard
you
to
get there. You'll get there.
it's hard to push through when you're sick. You know what I
hmm
mean? I think it's because of my kids, man. That's the thing when the weather changed and with the schools, man. Because like all my kids, everybody in the house is sick, coughing. And I'm like, cover your mouth. I don't know why, but kids have a hard time comprehending the whole concept of why you should cover your hands. My one son, I told him to cover his hands. He said, "No, Dad, that's nasty." I'm like, "How's it nasty?" He's like, "Because the germs go to my hands." I'm like, "Well, yeah. I'd rather go in your hands and you wash them than you spread them to everybody else." Like even the youngest, even the baby, she was sick, just coughing and nose running. I felt bad. I'm like, this is crazy. This, you know what I
Oh,
mean? But yeah, hey, it's
yeah.
life. We all
They're
we
little
all
they're
go
little
through it.
germ factories, but they get out of it.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people was listening and they was like, "Hey, you didn't say what the topic was, right?" So the whole concept is this. It's probably going to be broken up in this series, but today we're going to talk about like the creation of the the universe and the scientific explanation, and theories and whatnot. And then it's going to branch off to other things. We're just going to tie it all together. We're just going to try to make this entertaining. And yeah, without further ado, man, what was you about to say?
we it's gonna be multiple things that I guess we talk about. We can't fit it all in one episode, otherwise we'll break the
Yeah.
internet. So,
I
but
think the laptop might go to sleep.
yeah, right. So, but yeah, we're think what this one is going to be. We're going to be the creation of the universe.
Right,
Theories on it, what happens, Earth formation of stuff. Lots of interesting
right.
stuff.
So let me take me a sip and then open up with the first question. Mm.
What do you got in that red Solo cup?
You told my girlfriend actually made a little concoction. It's pretty good. I told her vodka and cranberry, but there's definitely something else in here. I don't
Uh
know.
oh.
It tastes like lemonade. So I don't know if you did
Ooh,
vodka, cranberry, and lemonade. I don't know, but it's tasty. I'm gonna take another one.
ooh, is dangerous tasty?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's one of those things that if you're not mindful, it'll creep up on you and you be hit.
It'll get you.
So all right. So the first question I'm gonna open up with, Danny, have you ever wondered how the Earth began?
Okay, so that goes back to there's a bunch of answers. It's not just there's a consensus, but there's no. I don't think there's an actual in concrete evidence of precisely what wound up happening. Now we can reverse time as far as possible,
Right.
but I think it only gets to the point of like when you fold a piece of paper, you just keep folding and folding and folding. Yeah, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, but you can only get so far. So but the Earth, I'm gonna go with Big Bang. Okay, that's the consensus. I guess I'll talk about the consensus one. Big Bang, where a singular point was just with infinite amount of mass and atoms and everything, and it was just infinity, just all packed into a tiny little cube. So then
Right.
all of a sudden it just came to a flashpoint and went boom, Big Bang. So then and then it just, as soon as it went, it just exploded out and everything became everything.
Yeah.
And then the Earth itself, I would say, would be
I appreciate that, Mikey.
so I think that the as soon as all matter started expanding everywhere, it was just dust and BS and whatnot. And then, just like in a pool, you notice it's all cloudy, and then you just start seeing clumps of stuff forming, and that's kind of what wound up happening. At least I believe.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny because when we talked about some of the topics that we're going to touch on, right? Like, I've heard of the Big Bang, but I never really knew what it was, right? So as I did research for this conversation, this topic, I was like, oh, all right, this is interesting. There's a lot of things that like naturally I wouldn't entertain, but like as I was doing research, I'm like, this is some entertaining stuff.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So so this planet we call home, right? It's an amazing place. Obviously we live in it, we love it. Because if it wasn't for life, we wouldn't be here. And I enjoy my life. I enjoy the journey that I'm in. So it's. Oh, I thought somebody was at my door. It's been around for.
It's the ghosts.
Nah, it might be one of them kids. Man. It's like my
It's
door.
the ghost. Like, all Hallows Eve, man.
Oh yeah, it is Halloween. That's weird. Trying to get me. But so the planet has been around for as long as we can remember. But how did it get the way that it is? How did Earth come into existence? Right, like this has been a topic for many people for many years. Right, so for some people, wondering how the Earth came to exist is more of an analytical question. Like it happened so long ago that like we can never know for sure how it happened, right? Because nobody lived back then to document certain things and certain accounts, right? Now,
and if they did, they'd have a terrible camera phone. So
yeah, flip phones. Flip phones. What they had before flip phones? The ones that look like bricks. They had little.
It was the brick. It was a Nokia brick phone.
Yeah, just got into like the cameras. That's crazy. I remember in the 90s, you couldn't take pictures on the phone, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No.
Yeah. Wow. But so like many religions around the world, right? They have specific beliefs about how the Earth began. Some believe that it's a divine creator that brought Earth and all the things in the universe into being. Others believe that it's a tangible, physical processes, right? That's responsible for mankind and all life forms. So, what you about to say something?
Yeah, I agree. I know that there's the belief system of religion and how God created the earth and the heavens. He was the Alpha and the Omega. He was everything. He was what was before what was. So,
and that's another can of worms right there.
It's a big one. I mean, that's a whole episode.
Right. So you mentioned it before, right? So let's take a look into the view held by most scientists regarding how the Earth was formed, right? Let's talk about that Big Bang as you mentioned before, right?
Right.
What is your understanding of the Big Bang theory?
So, I already recapped a Cliff Notes version at the beginning. So basically, it's all matter was created in a flashpoint of infinite matter. Well, after that, it wound up expanding and created all of the laws of physics all in one instance. Everything that we know now, all was created at an instant. And it's ever expanding. It just keeps going, and more things form, more things collide. They break apart, they form again. Life happens. Not exactly sure how that totally happens, but it does happen. So that's one of the biggest debates on how we became us. But as for the formation of all of the matter, that's where it stems from, the Big Bang theory.
So, all right. So a couple of things I want to point out, though. So as I was doing research, right, it's the strangest thing. So like when they was talking about the Big Bang theory and how, like you said, like meteors and all that like collided and so they said like I forgot what year it was. It was years ago. Scientists came up with a formula that replicated the Big Bang, right? And it said they was with that science they was able to create a Big Bang where it created planets and gravity and all that stuff. So for me, that was fascinating. And for
Yeah.
a moment, I was like, yo, am I being a nerd right now? That's how I felt. I'm like, this is fascinating. But I'm like, how can the human mind come up with something and say, like a formula and say, boom, now it's the Big Bang, and now it's
Yep.
creating this, it's creating this. It took something microscopic and it made it big. And they was like, so that's how it happened. And they was able to replicate gravity.
Yep.
Right? Like that's insane. That's insane.
Yep.
Go ahead. What was you about to say?
It goes pretty much down to the E equals MC squared,
Yeah.
and it's
It's crazy the technology and the human mind, man. That's why, a lot of people, they lose sight of that. Like the human mind is very powerful and it's very important. So once you lose sight of your creative thinking and your brain, then you lose your most valuable tool, right? Like so. Again, when I was doing research, right, I read where it says billions of years ago, all matters of the universe was compressed into one tiny point until it finally exploded, right around 12 to 14 billion years ago. Now I'm gonna pause right there, right quick. When they said about 12 to 14 billion years ago, this is the thing. This is a question I have for you. How can somebody know? Oh, 12 to 14 billion years ago. Like, where did that number come from? Or are they just throwing the number at the wall and say,
no, it's an actual real thing. It's nuclear. I'm probably saying it wrong. Nuclear decay or radiation decay has a life, and
right.
you can actually pinpoint, just like carbon dating. You can pinpoint exactly when something was created by the carbon footprint or the nuclear decay of something, depending on how decayed it is. You can put a number because it's a constant rate of
Right.
losing energy. So if you're able to measure a small amount of that, then you can put it into a mathematic formula to expand upon that, and then that's where they got that. That's where they got that number.
Insane, right? So, like we already said, this explosion is what scientists call the Big Bang, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
during this time, masses of dust and gas spewed throughout the spaces. These remnants of the explosion combined with other clouds of gas to form the ingredients that would eventually turn into our galaxy, right? Now, speaking about galaxy, again, doing research on this, right? I noticed like scientists are saying that there's billions, maybe even trillions of worlds or galaxies, should I say. They said something about for every X amount of stars, there's a planet in between. Now, when I was growing up, I ain't never heard nothing like that. It was we got the planets that we all know about, right? Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Earth, the Moon. But now they're saying it's scientifically proven that for like within X amount of stars, there's a planet. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, because every star is a basically magnet, and the most rudimentary point of it is that each star can be an anchor for stuff to revolve around it, and it will capture dust and particles and whatnot, and then as it's rotating around it, it will start collecting, compressing, and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger, collecting more. The larger it gets, the more gravity it usually will attain. So that's why smaller planets, less gravity, whatnot, and then also the contents of the center also affects the gravity. If it's a dead core, then it would have less gravity because there's nothing active. We have a live core in Earth. So we have a molten, and it just keeps on moving around. Molten metal, basically, a bunch of different stuff, and it's an attractor, and it pulls things. Because you may not know this, but every year there's billions of tons of space dust that actually lands on the Earth, and we're collecting more and more space dust on Earth. Earth is getting bigger, by tiny millimeters, but it's actually getting bigger.
Right. So my girlfriend put that message up there. You see it?
See. Yeah, we're
so
not being lived on yet. We're getting there.
Right. So it has been proven that our scientists of today have solved and created many things. But have you ever wondered how the human mind could come up with such creations?
Well, that I would need more clarification. You mean how they're able to think of how to create a big bang?
Well, that and just amongst everything, just things in general. Like if you think about like some of the things that we have been able to create, it's like I know for me, I'm like, how can a human mind think? Because some of the things that's created, I'm like, that's godly. That's how I feel. I'm like for instance, let's say a car. When I was younger, I'm like, how does somebody wake up one day and say, you know what? If I put this to this and this and that, if I put all this together, I could drive on the road and it's safe.
Oh, so you're wondering whether or not how is it that people are able to think of things and then make them reality?
Yes, that's what my question was. Have you ever wondered how the human mind could come up with such great creations? Because to me, I feel like it's godly. Because like when we're born, we don't know anything. Our mind's a blank canvas, right? Like so, like we have no knowledge of anything, and we learn as we go. So some of these creations, you didn't grow up and somebody taught you these things. This is something that somebody one day said, you know what? I'm gonna put this together, put that together, and it's gonna work. And then they had to be a test dummy and say, like for instance, a car or a plane. Think about it. That's one thing that fascinates me. Whoever came up with the plane, I'm gonna go thousands of miles in the air.
You mean the Wright brothers? They were the most famous ones.
And they get inside of it and they trust it. I'm like, I'm not gonna die. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have you ever wondered how the human mind could create such a thing?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to intelligence and creativity. Unfortunately, I don't think people today are as creative as people were back in the day. There are creative people. Absolutely, there's creative people, and there's clever people. But the problem is that there are more taught people than there are clever people. There are more people who are told what to know than there are people who go out and try to learn it themselves through mistakes, failures, or whatnot, or learn different things. See, creativity is the basis of all inventions. It's usually out of necessity and out of creativity.
So is it really the human mind being genius, or is it an act of God?
Yeah, so that's a back and forth. That okay, it could be a divine will of God that would infuse you into knowing or being clever enough to figure it out, or is it actual intelligence of our own that just triggers it? That's debated constantly.
Which way would you go?
Ooh.
Being born a pure genius or an act of God?
I think me, because we have at odds with our beliefs. You are belief in Christian and God and whatnot. I believe in science. Yeah.
No. I am not a Christian. Listen, I believe in a higher power. That's as far as it goes. I do not believe in the Bible, none of that.
You believe in a God?
I'm
not saying the God, a God.
I believe in a higher power, and I say a higher power because I can't let my lips formulate the word God, right? Because I don't believe in the Bible and how God as people speak of is the
But you
picture.
don't
I don't
have to
believe in
believe.
that.
Well, you don't have to believe in the Bible to believe in God. The Bible is written by man, so realistically, you can still believe in God without believing anything in the Bible.
So this is like, all right, I'm glad you said that because I often say that, right? But like you ask anybody to go to church and they spiritual, they say God wrote the Bible because and then when you like, well, why is it the Bible not written in first person? Because only in the New Testament is the red letters. That means it's supposed to be written from God, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of people say His Spirit led them to write it, so it was His words, but He told them in spirit, this is what I want you to write down.
Yeah,
These
which
are my words.
now here's the hard part about that. Now, back in the day, people weren't as skeptical as they are today. Now, if that was said in modern day, in today day, you're going to have a million people saying, so you're crazy and you decided to just write down stuff. But back then, people were like, I believe you. I believe God spoke through you. But
Right, right,
people are
right.
way more cynical these days. They're going to be like, okay, so you had this idea and you're just saying that God said this. And then, so it's people are less trusting these
Gotcha.
days.
Listen, believe me, I can go back and forth as well. Hold on, let's put this message right quick. Um, I'm
Oh,
not sure where she was going with that one. Too busy in the phone and
Oh,
social
that
media.
was from before. How whether or not people were clever enough, and then she's must be
Oh, okay.
responding to now people are too much in their phones in order to be clever or think about making
Now,
things.
now that you said that, like this is going off topic a little bit, but like now that we talk about how the universe and how the world was created, man, for a month now, I've been saying the world is really changing and not for the better. Like I don't get it. Like it could be a simple equation or something something that's so simple in life, and these kids growing up, they just so clueless, and I don't understand it. Right? Like
Yeah.
before we went live, I was talking about the Halloween, man. Like nobody does Halloween no more. Like since COVID, like nobody decorate the house.
Nobody holds traditions anymore.
No,
Everybody keeps on just moving forward. They forget the old stuff. I mean, uh, heck, just example. You've been to McDonald's, right?
yeah,
You've been to McDonald's relatively recently.
yeah.
What does the outside of the building look like?
Oh,
It looks like a corporate building.
yeah, and they got
But
that annoying shit. Would you be using the mobile app? I'm like, no, and they're like, how can I
so
help you?
but
Like,
when you look at the
just
outside of the building and you walk inside the building, it all looks like a business park. It looks like you're ready to go sit down with a laptop and like have interviews. But back in the day when we were kids, I remember sitting in a cheeseburger, I would
oh no,
slide
I don't
down a
remember.
slide.
On the slide, I remember that, but you said sitting in cheese. I ain't never seen
Oh
that
yeah,
before.
they had Ronald McDonald in the background, and then you could
Yeah,
sit with the hamburglar, and then
yeah, with grimace, and that's
yeah.
that's that's see, we, that's going to tie into something else. Like we're going to talk about at a later time, but like when we talk about like ideals that was here that are lost that need to be brought back, it's like the fun, the joy in life, man. So you know what I'm saying? Like for kids, that's great. When I was growing up,
Yeah,
the kids made McDonald's millionaires,
yeah,
right? Like
but
nowadays,
it's not fun anymore. It's everyone's
no.
turned, everyone's turned into corporate. Blah blah blah. What can I get from me? Not for what's fun, not for what's mind expanding or
Right.
anything like that. People don't. People just want to, I guess, just live. They don't want creativity. There are lots of people who want creativity. I mean, old buildings. You go to New York. Um,
Hey,
yeah,
what's up,
you
Scott?
So then if you go to New York and you look at all the old buildings, they're extremely creative, ornately carved and beautiful.
Right,
Old buildings are beautiful, but you look at a brand new building now, it's just squares and glass and metal and done. You're like, come on,
right,
that can't be where we went towards.
right.
It's saddening to me. It's saddening.
Yeah.
Our
I mean, but
creativity, but I think we are, to bring up a slight different conversation, but I think we are devolving. I think that we're
yes.
devolving. We are getting worse. We're getting
Right.
way too
I
complacent.
agree. Yep.
You know, we're
I agree.
becoming zombies. We're not getting creative anymore. And like your girlfriend said, is that people are in front of their phones. They're watching other people be creative, and they're just not deciding to do it themselves.
Listen, I had somebody at my job, right? I was like, "Yo, you here to do a job? Like, no earpiece, can't be your phone." And the motherfucker was like, "Well, I quit then." Like, and so what you said, we're not progressing, we degressing. Like, you can't be in your phones. You here to do a job, and you can't do your job if you're constantly on your phone, right? Like, if you're a server in a restaurant and you're on your phone, what are you not doing? You're not paying attention to your tables, the guests. You're not engaged with the guests. The guests see that, and they were like, "Oh no, I'm never coming back here."
Yeah,
the service is poor, and so to your point, the world's changing for the worse. Like, I just don't get it. It's just a lot of things that we need to get back to, like, ideals that are lost that need to be brought back. Like,
that's a later on thing. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that we have all these brand new inventions, all this cool stuff. I have to censor myself. I have to remember we're on YouTube. So then anyway,
NDA.
So then so I was like, I'm like, all right, well, we have the Teslas, we got AI, all this clever, amazing stuff, but then unfortunately that was someone else's creativity, but now it's going to make everybody else compliant, and nobody's going to be creative anymore because they're just going to use that as a tool, just like everyone's on their phone just scrolling. Nobody's out there actually doing stuff. They're watching other people do stuff.
Like since you
go
said
touch
that,
grass.
Like, the iPhone 16, right, is the artificial intelligence, right? Like, they said that so at first they was going to put everything out there all at one time, but then they later changed it, say no, in increments. Like, they're going to maybe 2 months this, another 2 months that. But one of the things is ChatGPT. You heard of that before?
Of course, yeah.
So
that's not the only one. There's actually hundreds of them.
Right. So the thing about that is, like, so as far as writing a book or a novel and stuff, you talk to it, or you give them a premise, you give them the basis, and then it does it for you. It's insane. Nobody thinks for themselves anymore. Right? It's like that's one thing that is lost in this world. And I don't know how society, what is it? We are allowing technology to take over our lives. That is true. That's true. Absolutely true. Right?
Just wait till Skynet happens.
Got it. Before I go back back on topic, I want to say this. So one of the things I started doing like a month and a half ago is, I wake up early in the morning, I turn on the news and I watch the news, right? Like, I was never really big on watching the news, never. But I was like, you know what? I'm getting older. I like to know things that's happening in the world, right? And mainly because, I do this podcast, right? So I'm like, some of my topics can be based off of things that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So they said, I kid you not, they said 2025, which is coming soon, they're going to have air taxis. It's sort of like planes, right? So you know how you get like an Uber and stuff like that? It's going to be in the air. Now, they say it's going to be so expensive that only the rich is going to be able to afford it at first. But just think about it. That's going to be stupid because now, you remember, what was it called? The Jetsons or something like that? It was an old cartoon.
Yeah.
Where it was like, So the thing is, the roads is already populated. So now if you think about, if they say, oh shit, I can go in the air, it's going to be like a solar eclipse. It's going to make everything look dark and gloomy.
They already have that. It's called helicopters, but
Well, you know what I mean. But they said air taxis. They said the first models is going out 2025. I said, what the fuck? Air taxis, bro. So now, like, it's all light. The sun is beaming down. Everybody in the sky. It's gonna make it dark. It's gonna make it appear to be dark. That's crazy. And it's gonna be less and less people on land. So I don't know where. I don't know the government is thinking. I
don't think it'll change that drastically. I mean, the problem is no. I mean, there has to be licenses and there has to be training. There's it. The danger exponentially goes up when you go from the ground to the sky,
Right.
because when you have a whole bunch of people who are just willy nilly, just flying whatever, then okay, you're running into danger zone because one person's going to smash into the next person, and then now you have to worry about them falling onto whatever's down at the bottom, which could be
Sure.
another person. So
And I was wondering, I was worried about that too. I was like, this is so. If the first test models go out 2025,
mhm,
like, what about because what's up must come down. So
that's right.
how many casualties will there be? So I was thinking about that already. It's funny you said that because I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I know everybody want to be futuristic, but this is, hey man, it's crazy.
It's
But
it's it's there's a lot of technology that's going to have to be made in order to make that even a feasible thing. I feel as though there would be it wouldn't be in charge of anybody. It would wind up being autonomous like drones,
right,
where you get into a drone and then the drone will take you where you got to go because the drone
right,
will do all the calculations. It's going to be where you're not going to be allowed to make the choices.
right. It's a lot of things. I can go on and on, but let's jump back to what I was
Yeah,
saying
we're
before about the
right.
Big Bang. So
So,
yeah. So when we talk about the Big Bang, right? So the explosions of the Big Bang's massive energy made the mixture of gas and dust very hot. As the pieces of dust swirled through, they started to compress and form small clusters that joined other clusters to make bigger lumps of matter. As these lumps of matter got larger, they began to pull together under the force and of their own, to create like gravity. Like
right.
we spoke about that before, which is crazy. And I look at myself as intelligent. I tell people I function at a high frequency, right? But like
Mhm.
in saying that, I'm saying I'd be like I could never come up with nothing like that. Like how? That's why I asked you before. Have you ever wondered how a human mind could be that powerful, right? Like I sit back sometimes and I'm like, shit, I would love to come up with shit that nobody else thought of, and because be a billionaire, I ain't got to work or do nothing. But I'm like, so it intrigues me. I
The
sit
thing
back,
is,
I'm
you
like,
can. You can do it.
I know
Every
how.
single person can absolutely every single. So
It starts this,
I did mechanic work. Okay, you know me through being a mechanic. So
right.
every single person can be a mechanic. Every single person can work on their own stuff. All they need is logic. That's it. You have to know. Okay, well, we'll run through a basic thing. Okay, well, your car doesn't start. Okay, well, your car runs on battery. Okay, well, do your lights turn on? Okay, they turn on. Your battery might be good. Okay, great. You go to turn the key, nothing. You hear a click noise. Okay, well, what starts it? Well, the starter starts it. Okay, well, if the starter isn't doing the starter thing, maybe it's the starter. So
But
everybody can do it. It's just a series of logic, and everybody can invent the next big thing. It's
but
just,
it's not basic logic though. It's not. It's back to what I
well,
said
it's
before. It's
learned.
godly. It's godly knowledge. Like
But no,
you know what I'm saying?
I think godly knowledge would be something that just you were able to figure it out without learning anything about it in the past. Like all of a sudden, you know trigonometry and you can solve, you were able to figure out how to uh, build a 0 point energy device with not knowing anything about science whatsoever. That I would consider maybe godly knowledge. Something just randomly in your head.
So a lot of times that's how it appears to happen. Like a lot of people might have the basic knowledge of certain things, right? And they say, you know what? All right. They say this happens, right?
Mhm.
They're not scientists though. They be like, well, scientists are saying this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna multiply this. I'm gonna divide that. I'm gonna subtract this, and boom, I got this. And then they millionaires, and then we like, oh shit. And then we all look at it like, well, it works. So for me,
Of
I'm like, that's
course.
insane.
But there's also a lot of, you know, smoke and mirrors as well. It not always is just that one person randomly figuring it out. It's a bunch of people figuring it out, and that one person is the one that maybe just presented it. And they were like, oh, okay, well, I figured this out. So I went to this person. This person told me a bunch of stuff. I took that knowledge. And then I went to this person, and this person taught me all this stuff. And I put it all together. You know,
Right.
yes, is it his invention? Sure. But he got all that information from some multiple places. And
Right.
that comes with cleverness. Okay, well,
Right.
not a lot of people have cleverness. They may have smarts. They may be book smart to be able to recite stuff or know definitive answers, but to think outside of the box, to be like, well, maybe if I try this, or well, this isn't working, and then everyone's like, well, there is no other thing. So then you start thinking, well, what is something else I can mimic to act like this? And that's where people can't think of because they don't know enough.
Right. I got you.
It's rough. It's rough.
No, it is. So back to what we were saying, we were talking about the lumps of matter, how they combine it, and created for gravity, right? So the largest of these lumps in the center eventually became so dense and hot that it began to generate its own energy. This is how the sun was born, according to science, right?
Well,
Yeah.
no. Well, I mean, I know you're reading it, but I mean, that's how a sun is done. But a sun is ignited plasma. It's not liquid. It's not gas. It's ignited plasma, and it's usually self-sustaining. It's the decay of stuff from the universe, and it just ignited itself spontaneously.
Right.
So continue, keep going.
No, I respect that. But like I said, this is the research I came up with, and like for me, when I do research, I like to do an odd number, right? Like so, like if I don't like, for instance, I don't look at one source and I'm like, all right, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's got to be an odd number. So I take if 2 out of the 3 say the same thing, then or if all 3, then I'm like, all right, it must be true. So I mean, that's maybe it's like a game of telephone.
But think about that. Now, if you go to 3 different people and they all say the same thing, does that necessarily mean that's exactly what it is? Or maybe the 4th person who says, oh, all these 3 people, so it must be that. But maybe the 4th person's like, you know what? No, I think it's something else. And then they wind up following that. And then they find out, oh, there actually is another thing.
Right. Now I see where you're going. Like that's possible as well. But I'm just saying, generally, that's how I look at things, right? Like,
yeah.
For instance, like when I was growing up, when I was a kid, my father used to tell me and my brother, he used to say, if one person say the sky's red, and you say no, the sky's blue. Another person comes and says, no, the sky's red. You say no, it's definitely blue. Right? He's like, once you get to 3 and so on and so forth, then it's time to have trust and faith in that person. Like, all right, maybe y'all know more than I do. So that's the logic I grew up with. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I say, so I broke it down to like whatever the majority is, right?
So basically, reality is consensus.
Consensus. Okay. If you want to put it that way, yes.
That's what you're describing. Reality is consensus. If what most people agree is what is happening, then that's what it is.
If you can't prove otherwise, then absolutely. Right? Like if you can't prove,
but as a scientist, you're supposed to disprove everything. You're not supposed to believe nothing.
but I am not a scientist.
I know.
So all right. So the rest of the lumps of matter formed a disk around the sun, according to science. Right? Over time, the sun got bigger, while the dusty disk surrounded it cooled. Lumps of dust began to form into larger chunks of rock, right? Which became large enough to have their own gravitational pull. And this goes back to what I was telling you earlier about like how they say scientists have created a formula where they can calculate and recreate a gravitation, right? Which I think is insane. I don't know how they came up with that. The human mind, again, right? What I said, I don't know how the human mind could come up with a equation where they could say, all right, well, in this glass chamber, it's gravity. Everything's, and then this
Here-
one,
Yeah, here's something that's going to blow your mind even more. Here's going to something that's going to blow your mind even more. You're blown by how can somebody create make an equation that would explain all that. Well, what about the people who created the creation of the equation, like made equations? You know, E equals MC squared. Well, then who thought of E? Who thought of MC? Who thought of square?
And that's what I'm getting at. It's insane. So it's
it just keeps going.
It's a lot of things in life that, like, I'd be like, it. Not just me. A lot of people have questions, right? So, like, not to talk about religion, but like, I think that a lot of people turn into religion and they say the Bible, God, faith, religion. I think they only do that, right? Or
because it's an easy answer.
It's easy, and they can't prove otherwise. And they look at it like, well, how is this a thing? How's that a thing? And when people be like, shit, I don't know. The easy thing to say is, well, God did it. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing I struggle with, right? Like, I'm like, man, prove there's a God. Where's that proof that there's a God? Like,
well, here's the thing: is that science will look like magic to the uninformed.
Right.
Okay, so everything can eventually be explained. Just you need more knowledge in order to explain it. I mean, if we took, heck, we took a cell phone back into the 1200s. It would look like magic. We would look like magic. We know that a cell phone is electronics and electrons throw all this and you charge it. Now, we know that information, but back in the 1200s, they don't know any of that stuff. So we were magic people. So it's the same thing with religion. Okay, well, we don't have the answer for it, so we're just going to be like, it's magic. It's God. That's what it's got to be. That's what it is. You're godly. Until we eventually start explaining things and then it starts making sense. Granted, not everything has an explanation. So, but we're still learning.
So, okay. To that, I'm going to say this. Like, to this day, I like, all right, a CD. How can somebody talking to this microphone, like I'm talking to this microphone, how do you take that voice and you put it on an object, like a CD, and you put that in a CD player, and you can hear it? That is insane to me. That is godly.
So that seems like magic to you. Now,
magic. Yes,
I actually know the science behind it, and then I know the science of how that happens.
How can you transmit a voice through a microphone and put it on a disc, and it plays no matter where you put it? That is insane to me.
And if you want a legitimate, real explanation, I know the answer. So, it's basically, it's all technology. It's little tiny bits of knowledge that we've gained from different, all over the place. Like I said, the one person who did the invention talked to one person, another person, another person, another person. It's the same thing. A microphone is. There are multiple different types of microphones, but the most common one is a piezoelectric microphone, which is basically a tiny little, which is basically a tiny little crystal. It's a teeny tiny little crystal. And what happens is that when you speak into a diaphragm, which is just a little disc, and the diaphragm vibrates back and forth, it actually touches the crystal. And every time it touches the crystal, depending on how much you squeeze that crystal, it creates electricity. And that electricity turns into pulses, which turns into data that you can record on a computer. And then once you record that, you can reproduce it.
But you talking about vibrations and stuff. I'm talking about my voice. As I'm speaking right now,
your voice is vibration. Tell me your voice isn't vibration. Your throat vibrates. Yes.
But I don't think you follow what I'm saying. Like, this is so my voice, your voice, and you put it on a disc and then play it anywhere, and they go like, oh no, that's Danny, or that's Roy. Or
of course, because it's recognizing of certain tones and pitches.
It's godly.
Yeah, it's to you, it's godly. To me, it's science.
All right, so I'm glad you said that, because my next question was, are you Are you into science? That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So I believe more of science than I do anything else. Now, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I don't believe the religion stuff at all. I do believe some of the religious stuff, but I believe it in a different way.
Right.
But I am more analytical. I'm more logical. I'm more. There has to be an explanation. We just don't know it yet. Um, and just because we don't know it doesn't mean there isn't one.
Right. So, all right, speak about science, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much of it do you think is fabricated versus built on factual basis?
Everything is fabricated, and then it's built on a factual basis.
Well, no, we talk about science, right? Like
Yeah.
science.
Yes.
So, do you think it's fabricated, right? Or
Yes.
do you think it's mostly built on a factual basis?
So it is fabricated. Science is fabricated, okay, from ideas, imagination, and all that. And from that ideas or imagination or, ridiculous things that comes out of your head. And then that you put into practice. And then once you start doing the things that you've imagined, and then you get a result, that becomes science, and then that becomes fact.
See, no, see, I disagree with you right there. I think right now you straddle the fence because what I was going at with is, do you think that like people, the scientists, they come up with these theories, right? And then when people can't prove it otherwise, they can't prove it to be wrong or false, then they say, oh, it's true. That's science. A scientist said it, so it's science. So that's what I mean by fabricated. Do we just go on it based off, oh well shit, I can't prove otherwise, and that's what a scientist says, so you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
so
that becomes
are you saying basically because a scientist said so, then that makes it fact? Are you asking whether or not information out there is more based on feeling than actual evidence?
that's basically what I was getting at.
Okay, so that goes 100% against the scientific community. If anybody goes on feeling, you are laughed out of everywhere because science doesn't care about your feelings. So
Maybe not feelings. All right. So what's the difference between a fact and an opinion?
a fact is something that is reproducible and quantifiable. An opinion is something that is your feeling.
All right. So I would say fact and opinion is opinion is something you think, right? A fact is something you can prove, right?
Right.
And so when we talk about science, it should be proven, right? So when I say a factual basis, right? Do you think science is a fact? So if you come up with something and people can't prove you wrong, typically people say, "Well, shit, I can't prove them otherwise." Not just one person. I mean, millions of people. I can't prove otherwise, so they say it's fact, right?
Then it becomes a theory.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you really think it's fact, right? Because you can't prove otherwise, or do you think?
Well, it can't be called a fact if there's no provable definitive answer. Then it becomes a theory. A theory is unproven. So, that's just like you got the
but that's what I was saying though. Like, so a lot of scientists, they say something and we take that to the heart and say, oh, that's a scientist said it. That's what I'm getting at. Like, right. I don't know if I'm explaining myself good enough, but like,
but I understand what you're saying. And
so you think that everything that the United States say is science? Do you believe that everything they say is scientifically proven? Do you believe that it's scientifically proven?
No, because people have biases.
Okay. And that's what I mean by fabricated or factual, right? Like,
well, it's case by case. That's the thing.
Right.
You have to be able to, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. You're right, Allison. That's absolutely right. The Bible is based
on... I was still reading. You said you was like you're right. I was like, I ain't even finished it. How you read that?
So basically, the Bible is someone said it, and we're all just supposed to believe it. Okay, well, that some people do believe it just blindly, and some people question it, which is genius level there.
Right.
Your girl's a smart cookie.
I was thinking the same thing though, because I was trying to break this up, you know what I'm saying? But like I was going to get to that, but she beat me to it.
So
kudos.
I'm a quick reader, by the way.
Yeah, I see that. I was like halfway done. He was like, "Yeah, you're right." I was like, "What?" What? But anyways, back to what you were saying.
So I forgot what I was saying. I lost my train of thought. Actually, you know what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back. I wanted to circle back to the Big Bang Theory situation. I have which would go back to it's unproven, and there's no way that I can prove it. Maybe there are many people who are smarter than me who maybe do have the answer. This is a theory. I have a theory on what actually happened with the Big Bang.
Let's talk about it.
So I have a theory. Everyone's like, okay, well, where did this matter come from? What is this infinite thing, and why isn't it happening all the time? There's matter everywhere. I have a theory and a feeling that, and this is the first time I've said it out, to anyone really, is that there are two planes of existence. There are two universes, basically, multiverse situation. And there are only two. So there's only two of them. There is ours, which is space, and then there's a neighboring one, which is matter. We live in the space one. That there's a neighboring one that we don't have access to, which is all matter. So you know how our universe is there's just space, there's nothingness. There's nothingness, and then every so often you'll bump into a planet, which is matter.
Right.
I think that there is a parallel universe that occupies the exact same space that we occupy, but we don't know it because we don't have access to it. That is only made of matter. It is like walking through soup, basically. Swimming through soup is that everything is matter and there is no space. And I think that at one point in the billions of years ago, whatever number they made up, I have a feeling that there was a small little, and this is going to sound terrible, basically a pimple pop. And what happened was there was a little tiny spot between the two universes that opened up, and it was like a pimple burst. And what had happened is that it went pop, and a whole bunch of the matter universe spilled into the space universe, which is our universe. And then it immediately closed back up. Now, it's the same thing as like if you pop a balloon, it's bang, you're going to get a bang. And I think in our universe, it was nothing but space. There was nothing here. It was just emptiness. And that the very second that all that matter got ejected into our area, that's when all physics and laws of physics were created in that very instant. That there was no speed. There was no speed of light. There was no gravity. There was nothing. It all got created in that very instant, which is why it expanded so quickly, because there was no gravity to slow it down. But the moment it expanded, gravity got created and then immediately started slowing down and has been slowly expanding. And then with that, that's where all the matter came from. It came from the thing. Now, unfortunately, I have no way to prove this. This is a theory. The only way to be able to prove this is to pop another hole. But then if we do that, we'll destroy our universe. So,
which would be insane.
Crazy.
Right. So we was talking about the whole, how the sun was born and the particles, the meteors, and this hit this, and the dust. We was talking about all that, right? And the gravitational pull. So like the largest rocks became the earliest forms of the planet. Oh, 1 second, hold on. It was time for a read up. I ain't need that. I just need this.
Man, I need it. Just give me some. There we go.
I would have been mad if I spilled that on the computer. But,
I would have been mad too.
So what I was saying is the largest rocks became the earliest forms of the planets, right, that make up our solar systems today. Slowly, they organize themselves into orbit around the sun, and their gravitational pulls cleared the areas around them of rocky material, right? So let me ask you this: do you believe that we live in an expanding universe? Like, do you think that like the world as we know, do you think that it's going to continuously throughout the years expand?
Well, it's already been proven already that it is expanding. It's been expanding.
Well, you said it's been proven. Like, how was it proven that it's
So they were able to actually measure other galaxies and the distance from our galaxy, and from that they were able to see that other galaxies are very slowly moving away from our galaxy. And then they are also able to see the edge, or the observable edge of the galaxy, and it seems to be getting further and further away.
so because they're moving away, that means we're expanding, or
Yep.
so it's like, all right, you ever met somebody and be like, oh, they're annoying, and you detach yourself from them, and you be like, you go away from them? How do we know it's just not like that? It's like they're just drifting off. Maybe it's
Well, that's what
matter.
expanding
Maybe
is.
it's
They're drifting away. Everything's drifting away, just further and further away.
but that doesn't mean the universe or the world is getting bigger.
Wait. You're conflating two different things. Are you talking about the entire universe, or are you talking about our universe or the world?
For universe, like the world, the Earth. Do you think Earth is expanding?
You just said three different things. Which one?
Because with the question I asked, I said, do you think that? All right, I did. All right, my question was, do you think the universe is expanding?
Yeah.
And then you was all right, and you were saying how Earths are moving up, like drifting
how universes are actually how galaxies are spreading apart.
Right. All right. So I was focused more on Earth. Do you think that Earth is expanding? Like, do you think that planet Earth is getting bigger?
Oh, I know it is.
Oh, well, all right. What brings you to that notion?
Well, I mean, it's just extreme logic. I mean, we have meteors that crash into Earth. Well, they stay here. They don't go away. So it's clearly getting more and more stuff from space. Plus, also there, as I said earlier in the episode, is that that there's billions of pounds of space dust that actually settle on the Earth, making the Earth slowly get larger.
Mm.
It's nothing that we could actually measure in real time, but over 500 or 1,000 years, oh yeah, absolutely, the Earth will be larger.
Mm. So all right. So what makes you think that the Earth can get larger than what it is? Because when we go to school, when we talk about Earth, it's a ball, like it's round like this. So what in your mind makes you think that it gets bigger?
I just explained all of it. So
no, you somewhat explained it. Like I'm. It's like you take a basketball. So
okay, wait. Well, that example, the basketball, we'll use that as an example. You take a basketball, okay, and if you keep on putting, let's say, you keep pouring salt on it.
Salt? I thought you were gonna say air, but all right.
No, air is not it's not a substance. It's a gas. So if you keep on putting salt on a basketball, if you put enough salt on a basketball, the basketball will get bigger on the outside.
No, because so it's filled with air, right? So it's going to explode after a while. So if you fill something to past its capacity, it's going to explode. So it won't grow.
So then you're asking me a different question now. Do you think that? Well, you initially were saying, do you think the Earth will get bigger? Well, getting bigger can be two different ways. It can either be from the inside out or from the outside in. You can add on to the earth to make it larger, or you can come from inside to make it bigger. Like a basketball, you keep filling it with air, it'll get bigger, sure. But if you keep adding stuff to the outside of it, it'll also get bigger.
See, now you're trying to mind fuck me right now.
No!
So, look, I see what you're trying to do, but what I'm saying is when we go in space,
logic.
Look, nah. we go out of space and we look at the world. It looks green and blue, and that's the world. It's circular, right? And we're like, all right, that's what it is. We see the shape.
It's actually a slight oval, actually. Sorry.
I never heard of a slight oval, but like what I'm saying is, if it's saying it's this shape, is this expansion?
Let's say it's round. Let's say it's round. Okay.
All right, it's round. It goes from here to here. I don't think that like you can take that. It's a planet, and it expands. I just don't see how that's logically possible.
It won't expand. It can't expand.
Do you think we live in an expanding universe? Right? Well, but I guess
you're tripping on your words. You're sipping and tripping. No. You've been sipping, now you're tripping.
You might be right, but look. So when I say universe, I was focused on the world. So do you think Earth? So let's really.
Okay.
Do you think Earth? Do you think that we live in an expanding Earth? Or I'm gonna say world because Earth is world for us. Do you think we live in an expanding world?
Well, the Earth can't expand, but it can get larger.
You get larger, it's expanding. What are you doing to me right now? You say the wrong thing.
Okay, you know what? We will use your work. Okay, ready? All right. Yes. Let's say you're making dough. Okay?
Yes.
You're making dough. Now, there are two ways for the dough to get bigger, right? Mm-hmm. You can add yeast and it will grow from the inside and get larger. Or you can add another thing of dough to it and it also will get larger, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So now the problem is that if you never add yeast, will it get larger? It can't get larger because there's nothing to expand it. But you can always take another glob of dough and put it into it, then it's larger.
You're right. But once something gets larger, you're expanding it. If you take a rubber band and the rubber band's like this, and the more you pull on it, it's getting larger, and in essence, it's expanding. You're expanding it.
Well, scientifically, no, but scientifically, the rubber band stays the same size always because it's not adding matter or removing matter.
All right, so now you're getting technical right now, but I see what you're trying to do.
So. What is in your cups? Dang it, man!
No. That you speak on a technical basis. I'm talking on a logical. If something expands, it's getting larger. That's what I was looking at. But I understand what you're saying. You're saying, if it don't add physical matter, that's on a scientific, technical level.
See, what I'm doing is I'm the exact the word you used, the precise word of expand has not just one meaning. I mean, yes, as you said, if you add something to something, yes, it expanded. The circumference expanded, absolutely, from the inside out.
So in essence, it's getting larger.
It is getting larger, exactly, but from external addition.
Oh my God! Yeah. So when I asked you if you believe in science, yes, I have my answer. You are a science guy.
I'm a logic science person.
It's like if you take a loaf of bread and you put it in water, it's going to expand. It's going to get bigger, right? Like
because it's going to take it from outside, but that is literally expanding. Your example of that, it is expanding because it's expanding from the inside out.
Right.
But if you
I
add
got
dough from the outside, it's just getting larger.
right. All right. We're gonna move on from that.
Yes.
I am about to jump into some scientific proofs or evidence or information. At any
Sure.
time you can just jump in and if you got a comment, if you want to add to it, right?
Yep.
So scientists believe the Earth formed in this way 4.6 billion years ago. Early in the process of of its formation, a rock the size of Mars hit Earth, knocking a bit of Earth into space, which I think is crazy. Scientists believe that chunk started its own orbit around Earth, becoming our moon. They also believe that this collision changed the angle of Earth's tilt, right, to its current orientation, which gives us our seasons, right? Like, all right. So, what are your thoughts so far?
Well, that's all
Based off
true.
what I
That's
just said.
all. That's all accurate. That collision with what was it? I forgot what it was called. In fact, I can find out real quick. The collision was with Thea. An object they called Thea had collided with primordial Earth, and knocking off a gigantic chunk of Earth.
So, you believe that?
Well, they've been able to prove it by going to the moon and bringing back samples, and the samples that they brought back are identical to the basalts and all of the different formations of the rock of Earth. So it's not foreign materials that are on the moon. It is Earth-bound materials. So it has the exact same formation and the exact same chemical compound and rock architecture of the Earth when the Earth was being formed. So the moon is made of the Earth and whatever hit the Earth.
So, all right. So, before I go back into my little dialogue, my little, research, right? It's funny. You said the moon is built on the Earth, right? Is that how you worded it?
The moon is from the Earth.
So, all right. So, what's interesting about that is like it's life form on Earth. So, if the moon came from that, shouldn't there be life form on the moon?
No, because it's not an atmosphere. It wasn't large enough to be able to form a sustainable atmosphere, and it wasn't stable enough to settle itself. They found magma. They found magma on the moon and lava flow. So there was sustainable at one point, but it immediately died off. It cooled off and became pretty much a dead planet. But it has water in it. Ice crystals and whatnot. It has a bunch of that stuff. But it died.
So it's funny. I heard there was a dead planet. I heard that before. But the thing is, I never heard that it was ice crystals or things like that. But like, if it has that, then that leads me to believe that like it's some kind of life form. Because like, how can you be a dead planet and you can reproduce water?
You're not reproduced. It's stuff that was there at the formation.
Okay, well, all right. So if there's water in space, right? Because see, a lot of people when they talk outer space, a lot of people fail to realize is even the Earth that we live on is outer space. We're a planet, and all the planets is outer space.
Yeah,
a lot
of people. That's like did you know that there's no such thing as the sky? It's just space.
It's just space. Yeah,
it's just space.
Space.
Just different layers of it.
Different layers. That's all it is. But a lot of people they look at like, oh, outer space. When you go to school, they teach you about the planets. Do they not say Earth is one of the planets? Right, and they say all the planets is out of space. So I laugh. Right, that's why I enjoy conversations like this because Earth is out of space. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
out of
there's no
space.
such thing. Yeah, there's no such thing as inner space. There is, you don't know where. I mean, we are not the center. I mean, at
Yeah,
one point we believed we were, but we are not the center. In fact, we're very far from where the center is believed to be. So we
right.
are outer space. That is true.
Yeah, I mean, so I never, like I said, I never been a scientific guy, but like logic, I've been a logical guy. And if we teach our kids that all the planets is out of space, and when you go out of space, and Earth is one of the planets that's out of space, we live in outer space.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to jump on this right now.
Mm.
Who's to say we? Who's to say we not aliens?
Well, we are aliens.
Oh wow! Hold on,
Oh yeah, we absolutely are.
hold on.
100%. We are the aliens. Absolutely.
What makes you say that?
Well, we have there. I mean, if you go and you check out a squid, like an octopus rather. All right, an octopus is intelligent. An octopus has DNA and has intelligence and is able to do stuff. If you look up octopi, they're just as smart, as clever, and as inventive as we are. They just live
Right.
underwater. They were here before us.
Right.
We are the ones who are the aliens.
I mean, I guess.
And,
I mean,
and that brings it up to, were we, did we form here or were we brought here? Did we get dropped here? Were we created here by someone else? Or did we just happen to, piece together our existence, piece by piece as we grew bigger and bigger and bigger?
I mean, it's interesting you say that. Like, these are things that nobody can really sit down and pinpoint and prove, right? So, for billions of years from now, people are going to ask the same questions. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just the way it is, man. It's funny. So look, the Earth didn't look anything like it does today, according to the Big Bang Theory, right? It
What are you talking
was
about? There was a Wawa like in 14 million years ago.
yeah. So
I'm sure it was there.
So Earth, right? It was simply as big it was a big ball of rock without oceans, continents, or atmospheres, right? Um, Continued collisions with meteorites, along with radioactive decay, as you said before,
Hmm.
and further comprehension due to gravity, heated up Earth until it reached a melting point of iron in the Earth, and the Earth's core was formed. Right, that's what scientists are saying.
Hmm.
Um, Over a million years ago, Earth eventually cooled and its composition settled into the core. Then we talk about the mantle and the crust and yada 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 as we taught in school, right?
Yep.
Scientists believe that Earth's oceans and atmosphere didn't come along until about 4 billion years ago. And then earlier I said, how do people come up with the time? But then, you briefly touched on that and,
Yeah.
taught the DNA and all that stuff. As a result of volcanic activity of meteors hitting Earth and releasing water and gases trapped under the surface, right? Um, you know, in my research for this, right, it says in the 1920s in California, an astronomer named Edwin Hubble or Hubble, I don't know,
Hubble.
Humble,
No, yeah. It's
no
Hubble.
Hubble, you mean? Oh, Hubble. Edwin Hubble observed distant galaxies using an extremely powerful telescope. He made two discoveries. First, he figured out that the Milky Way wasn't the only galaxy. which is crazy. Like I said, as I did research on this, I was like, a lot of things was fascinating, right? So the Milky Way wasn't the only galaxy. That's what he came up with. The Milky Way was just one of billions of galaxies, right? And the second discovery, right, was that the galaxies are continuously moving away from each other. As I think you mentioned that when you said when we saw expansion and stuff.
Yep.
He said they're continuously moving away from each other. So, in other words, the universe is expanding. That's what I was asking you. Like, do you think that the universe is expanding? Right. Um. So, what are your thoughts so far
Well, yeah,
on
of course.
on the science?
Well, yeah, I think it is definitely expanding. What I would hypothesize, or rather, wonder whether or not it will continuously expand until indefinite, or will it get to a point like a rubber band where it will snap back? Where it'll go so far out, and then all of a sudden it'll just whoop come back.
Isn't that what I was saying before about it'll just explode? The more it grows, the more it expands. It'll just explode into oblivion. Is that not what I said earlier?
Well, sort of, sort of, but sort of.
I think we both thinking the same thing, but like I think you just I don't know.
So I would wonder is like there as it's expanding, it's just going further and further away from the start point. The start point's like right here. So as it goes from there, it'll wind up going out. But would it be indefinite where it just floats away forever like the ocean and it'll just be gone? Or is it actually tethered to each other and then eventually gets to a certain point and then it just starts coming back to get back to a singular spot?
Right.
So
1 second.
But that's the one thing that I would wonder whether or not it actually it's just indefinite expansion or whether or not there'll be a contraction.
All right. So let me ask you this. Are you religious?
Not really. No.
So do you believe in the Bible? Or the messages?
It's got nice stories. It's got nice stories. They're interesting. I can't wait for the movie.
What movie? What movie?
No, they always make books into movies. I can't wait for the movie.
It's a lot of movies based on the Bible. Recently I started watching a lot of them, and so this is the thing. When you say movies, right? You can't wait for the movie. There's a lot of movies based on the Bible that I think is excellent. And I told you, I'm not religious. I don't believe in the Bible.
But that's Hollywood movie. I'm talking about. I want to see the real movie of one for one of the Bible, because that would be a crazy movie.
So what defines what's real, right? Like, so if they keep making movies based off of the Bible, and I put that air quotation,
their interpretation.
Right. So what? So when you said the real, what determines what's real and what's not?
No, I meant like what I mean by real is they take a one for one account of literally they get the Bible and that actually winds up being the actual script. They make whatever is actually in there. That would be a crazy movie. That'd be insanity.
Oh yeah. Well, it would be like. It would be like 50 movies long if they do an exact account.
It would rival the Marvel universe.
You're right. And you know what's crazy? Is me being not religious, right? Like, I've been dying for that. Like, make a movie based off the Bible, based off of from beginning to end in chronological order. Make that shit. That'd be
amazing.
Pay money to,
because some of the stories are just really like they're like out there, like all right, David and Goliath and all that. I want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see the actual. I want to also see where they took the baby and put it into the river and they sent it away. I'm like, I want to see all that craziness.
So it's funny you say that, right? Because like the religious people, they might love what I'm about to say. So,
or they're gonna hate all of this.
No. I think they love it because what I'm about to say is this: you say you will love it and you can't wait for it, right? So, and I'm gonna say this because I've been saying this for a long time. My brothers, I got other people that's not my family. They be like, oh, that's a good start because if you say you dying to see it or you want to see it, maybe subconsciously, maybe you do believe in the Bible. Maybe you do want to cross over. So that's what I said. Religious people, they'll love it. You say you can't wait.
I can't wait because
So
of the imagery. The imagery. Now, the way I feel about the Bible is that it's good stories, but it's stories to it. They're stories to conjure up an image in your own head so that you'll learn the lesson of that. It's not. I don't think it's a literal telling. I don't think it's an actual. There was literally this thing. I was like, I think it's just they're saying a word that conjures an image so you can better process it. And then you can take a lesson from it. I think that's what it is. And there's always those people like, no, the Bible is a literal account. I'm like, well, that doesn't really hold up. There's no possible way it could have been a literal account. I was like, I can understand that. It turns out that it was like bedtime stories that were made up. So that way everybody could get the message across. They can understand the message easier. And then it just turned into, oh, well, now we're just going to make this a religion and we're going to make this all of our lives, which is not a terrible thing. It's just the people who take it too far. That's where there's a problem.
All right. So let me ask you this. Do you believe there's a such thing as a heaven and a hell?
A physical location or a plane of existence?
Both. I mean, because as you asked me the questions, I was like, well, I mean both. Like, a physical place or
physical place, literally impossible. There can't possibly be a physical place. I mean, hell alone would just be nothing but just you wouldn't fit. No one would fit anymore.
Right.
Plus, also, I don't really think there is hell yet because it hasn't happened yet.
See. Now this is more intriguing. When you say it hasn't happened yet, like what do you mean yet? Hold on. Let's stick with the first question. Do you believe in the heaven and hell? Right? And you said in the physical, no. But so if you say no, why you say it hasn't happened yet? So in your mind, what is hell? What is heaven?
Well, there's two. Well, I'm going to give you the answer for the physical, and then I'll give you the answer for the alternate plane. So the physical, no, there's no possible way for it to actually happen. Now, as through the Bible, it hasn't happened yet. There is nobody in hell. Everyone's in a lake of fire. Even the devil.
So what is a lake of fire?
Damnation. It's with the unbaptized babies and whatnot, and it's a lake of fire. That's where the devil is supposed to also be.
So if you're not baptized, you're in hell. That's what you're saying.
You're in the lake of fire. You're in purgatory. If you die, you turn into purgatory. You should know this. You do the podcast of things. You should know these things. I know one of your brothers will know it.
I'm glad you said that because either tomorrow or Saturday we're gonna do the religious one, but with my brothers. But like, I never heard the term lake of fires. Right, that's number one.
Oh, they'll tell you. They'll tell you that he was cast out into the lake of fire.
All right, hey, let me write a note.
You write that down because he's gonna say that Beelzebub, no, not Beelzebub. Lucifer was cast out into the lake of fire, and with the unbaptized and the damned. So I may not be religious, but I do know some of the stuff. And the other thing is that the hell will not be opened until the apocalypse. That's when hell will open.
But hold on. You said the unbaptized and the what? I gotta write this up so I can ask them.
The damned.
Oh, the damned. All right. Right. Interesting. Because I grew up in, so on my father's side, they all religious, right? So like a little insight on my family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 98% of my father's side of the family is named after somebody in the Bible. My father's, it's strange to me. Like I was doing the ancestry.com, but I didn't tell them what I was able to find. I asked the living questions. My grandfather, my father's side that died, his name was John the Baptist, Black, right? My last name is Black. His middle name was the Baptist, right? Like it's weird.
But that was common back then.
My grandmother on my dad's side, her name was Mary Magdalene Black. Now, they say Jesus, right? Jesus Christ. His mother's name was Mary Magdalene.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Magdalene.
I think it's some that's silent. I don't know how to properly pronounce it, but I say Magdalene. I don't know. So then we got a Peter. We got a Paul. On my father's side. So one of my father's brothers, his name was Furlan. Now Furlan is not a biblical name. That's the first time it got fucked up as far as biblically, right? And then my father, he came up with my name, my brother's names. We're not in the Bible, so that's where it got lost in translation. Like my name
is Bible, Daniel, and my middle name is Matthew. So those are in the Bible.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then my son's name is from the Bible. A lot of them.
What's your son's name?
Caleb.
Oh Lord! So that's so. Before I finish what I was saying, what made you name him Caleb?
Oh, that's a big story.
What is it? All right, so let's put it this way: was it along the lines of biblical, or it just happened?
No, it has nothing to do with biblical. It was just a coincidence.
Okay. Got you. All right, so it's a coincidence. That's different. So my name, how I got my name was this. My father's name was Roy, and he wanted me to be a junior. A lot of dads want their sons to be juniors, and my mom was like, "Absolutely not." My father
guys with egos.
my dad had some faults and some skeletons in the closet. My mom was like, "No, he's not going to be a junior. He's not going to be a reflection of you. He's going to be better than you." That was my mom. So my name might be Roy like my father. But my middle name is different. My middle name is Desmond. His is Edward. So like he grew up in the church. His mom, which is my grandmother, she owned 5 churches. She was a very strong biblical person, right? Like, and like I said, they grew up in the Bible. I think back then. Because, like, you got to think, my grandmother, my grandfather, they grew up when it was, like, still slavery. So back then, it's like, when you have to suffer and endure so much hardship, you turn to God, right? Because people pray, like, it's back to what I said, like, a lot of people turn to religion because that's what we Americanize. We say the Bible is this, the Bible is that, and if you can't prove it wrong, and then people ask the question like, how are we breathing? How are there animals? How are this? And nobody can come up with answers. I think that's why a lot of people turn to religion.
I think a lot of people turn to religion because they don't want the exhaustion of looking for answers anymore. They just want to give up their search and just believe that there is something bigger and that they're just submitting to it. It's just easier.
And I agree with that to a certain extent. Like you said, give up. They give up because they can't prove it, and the people they talk to can't prove it. So the easy way out is like, well, it must be true, right? So like I was just where I was getting at is my family, my father's side was is the names was supposed to be biblical. And when I was growing up, I was told, I don't want to say forced, I was told, oh, it's only right. It's it's godly of you to name out somebody in the Bible. I don't even believe in the Bible. Why would I do such a thing? You know what I'm saying? But literally, like my grandfather, his middle name is the Baptist, and I thought that was strange. I still think it's strange. Like what? I'm like, I'm not doing that, right? And you know what I
Yeah.
noticed too? Like a lot of white people, they name their kids after the
Why did you get
Bible.
silent and stare when you said white people?
I didn't notice I did that, but like, no. So when as I was about to utter those words, I was thinking about my girlfriend and her side of the family. Like when we had kids together,
Mhm.
they all the suggestions was after the Bible. I'm like, no, I'm not religious. My kids is not. We're not doing no CCD. We're not going to church. We're not doing none of that. But they was like, oh, what about Peter? What about Paul? What about John? I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I know they didn't like it. They still don't like it. But like, that's not me. If I don't believe in something, why am I going to fake it, or why am I going to like, oh, tell my kids, oh, you name after people in the Bible? I'm not doing that shit.
Well, you
I'm
don't have to
sorry.
do that. A name is just a name. It's just words coming out of your mouth. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's the thing. What your name is, what you make it. You can name it after somebody, or so you can pick the name that somebody else had. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have their qualities or follow their
You're right.
beliefs. You make your own belief. You make your own Peter. You make your own Desmond. You make your own, a bunch of stuff.
You're right. All right. So what I was getting at when we saw it and the whole names thing. So my name, how I became Roy Desmond Black is Roy stands for royalty, right? If you look up what Roy means, it's royalty. You know, in the black community, they say black people are kings and queens, right? Like so.
Are you sure it's not Roy Rogers?
Oh,
It
there
means
you go. I
that.
That's the longest and corniest thing I ever heard. I haven't heard that my whole life. And then people are like Roy Rogers, I'm like this. Oh my god, no, never.
Like, no.
So that's where the Roy came from, royalty, right? And Desmond, I was named Desmond because at the time I was born, there was an African king named Desmond Tutu.
Okay.
And when I was young, I didn't know that's why they named me that. But I used to hate it because all the old people, because when young people look at people that's older, oh, here goes another old head. They used to be like, oh, here's Desmond Tutu and his little tutu. I used to hate it. I used to want to smack fire out of everybody that said that because tutus are for girls. So, oh, Desmond Tutu and his little tutu. I used to get mad. But that's what I was named after. Roy came from royalty and Desmond because it was an African king. And that's how, a lot of people don't know that. That's how my parents came with my name. And like I said, initially my father wanted me to be a junior. And that means my name would have been Roy Edward Black. And hell fucking no. I hate Roy. I do. A lot of people don't know that. I fucking despise the name Roy. You know who call me Roy? The police and people I work with.
Yeah.
Outside of that, people call me Black. So they call me Desmond or they call me Black. So it was a point in my life where I was in the little streets. I was
See,
dibbling
I
dabbling.
call you friend.
I love that. That's special. Yeah, you got a name for me, but like I'm gonna accept that because that put a smile on my face. but like people that know me as Desmond, they be like, "Who the fuck is Roy?" And people that know me as Roy, like, "Who the fuck is Desmond?" Like this podcast about Desmond Black, when I go to them, be like, "Who the fuck is Desmond?" It's me. I'm like, so you been lying this whole time? I'm like,
You're
no,
like,
it's my
no,
middle name. Yeah,
is all my name. Yep.
and it's crazy. So when I took my kids out tonight, somebody walked up to me and was like, "Hey, I know you." I'm like, "I don't know you. What the fuck?" I'm like, "I know you Black." I'm like, "Black? You sold drugs? You did this and that?" Because at one point, like I did that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, He said, "Listen, I know you." Oh yeah, all the people know by the name is when I was out there wilding doing some, And he was like, "I know you." So then, like, he was with a group of people, and somebody's like, "This his real name is this." I'm like, "I don't know who the fuck that is." So it intrigued me. I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" Because people either know me as Roy, Desmond, or Black. And a lot of people tell me, like, well, when I was in the streets like that, they were like, "Why do you go by Black? And you're not even dark skinned like that." And I used to tell people, like, my name is Black because one, it's my last name, and two, Black is what I represent. And some people like ask corny, but like I respect it, and that's why people know me as Black because that's the name. Because a lot of people gave me nicknames and I ain't like none of them. So I'm like, yeah, don't call me that, please. So to be a Black man and have the last name Black, I think that's powerful. So for me, that's what I want to be called. It was powerful for me, right? I'm a Black man, and yeah, like that's what I represent.
So a while ago, all right, my last name Wolff, but it's the German spelling of Wolf. But when you're younger, the kids don't see that, so they just see Wolf. Oh, and then they start howling at me. Then all you hear is Wolf. Oh, that's all they fucking did. And I want to punch every one of them in the face. And
I would have wanted to do the same thing.
So yeah, every kid wanted to do it. And then of course my first name is Danny, but the actual name is Daniel. So the first thing that is next to Danielle. So then everyone just made fun of me. They're like, "Oh, Danielle." So, and then they would howl at me. I hated it. So later on in life, I'm like, all right, well, nobody calls me Danielle. I don't really care if they did. So then, but the Wolf turned into something that I hated into something I loved, because then people are like, "Oh, Wolf," and I was like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "That's a cool name. That's a cool last name." I was like, "I know it is." And then people would just call me Wolf. That's it. They're like, "Oh, hey, Wolf," and that's it. They wouldn't even call me my first name. Nothing. And it turned into something that was good. I hated it in the beginning, but eventually, I grew on it, and then I told my son, I was like, "Listen, it's a badass last name," and then he's like, "I know." I'm like, "Oh, well, you better know because you stuck with it."
I tell our kids the same thing. Like, the last name Black is powerful. It's very important. Like, you represent that to the fullest. No matter what you do in life, your last name, hold that here.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So all right. So now it's the crazy thing is, right? We were just talking about how the universe was created, right? And how some believe that the Big Bang Theory, like they believe in the Big Bang Theory, and some people believe that, like, in the Bible and how the universe was created. So
the creation. Was it creation through God?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How the world was created. So the Bible says that God, how they say it? God created the world and the earth. Well, I guess it's the same thing. Created the world in 7 days, right? So day one, it said that God created light and separated it from the darkness, calling it light, calling the light day and the darkness night. On day two, hold on. It says on day two, God created the sky, separating the waters of the heavens from the waters on earth. Right, and by day three, it says God created dry land, seas, plants, right, and naming the waters sea and the dry land earth. On day four, God created sun and the moon and the stars. Day five, God created the water and the sky animals. On day six, God created land animals and people in God's image, right? Day seven, God finished his work of creation and rested, making the seventh day a day of making it a holy day, right?
Right.
So
a holy day of rest.
Right. So you have the scientists are saying the world, the universe was created by the Big Bang Theory. So you got religious people saying, well, God said, he woke up one day saying, I'm just going to create a whole bunch of shit. Right? Basically, you laugh. Basically,
he's like, I'm bored. I'm gonna make something.
I'm bored. I'm gonna create this, right? So, I was about to say something, but I'm gonna save that. So, what are your thoughts on God and His creation of life?
Well, I mean, he created. Let's see. As per the Bible.
Not. Hold on, time out. Yeah, no. You said as per the Bible. Now, before I say, "Are you religious?" Like, no, not really.
No.
So I want your thoughts on not necessarily saying you got to believe in God, but like on how the world or most people say God created. I want to know what your thoughts of God and His creation of life. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, with his creation, I'm fairly confident he made a mistake. He probably was like, he's like, oh shit, what did I make? It's
yeah. Why do you say that?
He left us in the oven a little too long, and we all got fucked up. That's what happened. He was like, you know what? No. He's like, I'm done with this.
So, why do you think he's? Why do you think that he made a mistake?
I think that he thought it was going to come out totally different. But then when we wound up getting free will, we done fucked it all up.
Time out. Oh, so I asked you a question, and you open the door to something else. So first, matter of fact, I'm gonna let you answer fully, and then I'm gonna go back to what you just said.
Okay, you write it down so you can go back. So
yeah.
So the creation he created in all of God's creatures, which is everything alive and whatnot.
Do you believe that or not? Yes or no?
What?
Do you believe in that? That God created heaven, earth, and all that stuff?
No, but it's fun. Let me
read this comment. Hold on. It's I'm a step in. God never makes mistakes. Oh my God.
So if he did make a mistake, so
hold on. That's matter of fact. So I'm gonna let you speak, and then I'm gonna jump on his ass real quick.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to him. So, so basically, he created all the God's creatures and whatnot, and created us in His image, which is personally probably confusing to me because okay, well if we're in His image, then why are there so many different looking people and like women and men, and how can we all be in His image if we're all completely different? How is that possible?
You mean like cultures and ethnicity? You mean?
Well, I mean like people who have ears that are a little lower or whatever, or people who have midgets or little people whatnot. And how is everybody in His image if we're all so vastly different?
Right.
Now, I mean,
that's one question I ask myself too. Right. But let me say this real quick. Since my uncle says,
yeah. So with the
God never. All right, go ahead. You go.
I'm gonna answer him. So him says he's a step in. God never makes mistakes. Okay, so God never makes mistakes. Well, that's an interesting statement, and it's a good statement. So, but would he admit if he did? I don't think he would ever admit if he actually did make a mistake. He would just say it was intended all along. But then how are we to believe it? We're just supposed to believe. We're just supposed to believe it? Okay, fine. If we are just supposed to blindly believe it, so then is it possible for God to make something that even He Himself can't fix? Because if He can't, then that means He can't be the creator of everything. But if He can, then He's also not as powerful as we think.
So all right. So I'm gonna say this. You said can't be the creator, but he can be the creator. But this is the thing. My thing is he's not perfect. So, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna say to you and my uncle, even God is not perfect. Right? We all look at it and say, "Oh, God is perfect." No, 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 no. God wanted the world to be perfect, but the Bible was a book of failures, right? And I'm gonna tell you what. He came up with Adam and Eve, right? Now in Hebrew, Adam means man. That's what it means. A lot of people don't know that. So Adam and Eve, right? He came with Adam and Eve and said, "Don't do this." He gave rules, and he created the world to be perfect. But guess what? Eve committed sin, and Eve convinced Adam to commit that same sin. So that's a failure on God's part, because if he created the world to be perfect and that happened, then guess what? That's a failure on his part. Yeah, and moving on from that.
So
all right?
how can he create something so imperfect if he is perfection?
Exactly. And then moving on, so then we talk about Noah, right? When we talk about the book of Noah. So when they talk about the great flood was about getting rid of the world as we know to recreate it with Noah. And he told Noah to take 2 of every living thing and bring it on onto Noah's Ark, right?
Yeah.
So we can recreate the world. But guess what? Even Noah failed, because Noah, he got drunk in the tent. He was oblivious. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was fucked up. And his kids made a mockery of him. His kid got him to get naked in the Bible, right? So Noah getting drunk out of his mind was not perfect. He committed a sin. So if he committed a sin, that means God was not perfect a second time, because God started trying to recreate the world with Noah by creating a flood. So, all right, you are the new Adam, right? Mm-hmm. So when you recreate something, and you say,
well, with the book of Noah, he gave him a task. He gave him a task to go to the enemy state and tell them they were doing something wrong. He decided, he was like, nah, I ain't doing that. Fuck this. And then he decided to go off, and then he got punished for it. So he wound up, after he got punished for it, okay, fine. Now, that's the thing, is that if we, and this is something else I go with free will and whatnot, then how come when we're always told we have free will, but then when things don't go our way, everyone says, well, it's God's plan. Well, do we have free will, or is it God's plan? Which one is it?
So I'm a firm believer that we don't have free will. So that's what I was saying. So if Noah failed, no, Adam and Eve failed. That means God failed, because he wanted the world to be perfect.
But by the way, in the Bible, Adam and Eve were not the only ones. By the way, there were others. When you read it, there are actually others.
So when we talk about Noah, God said, "Do this flood. Only bring 2 of each kind on the ark, so we can recreate life. Everything else will be dead, right?" Mm-hmm. And so when Noah failed, if Noah failed and God wanted him to represent perfection, that means God failed, because Noah was God's creation. That's what I'm saying. So my uncle said, God don't make mistakes. No, he do. He wanted the world to be perfect, and he failed 2 times. And then we can go to Abraham. Even Abraham failed. I can go on and on and on about people in the Bible that God wanted to be perfect. They failed. Yeah. You know, so God does make mistakes. So when people say godly, there's mistakes in being godly, because guess what? At the end of the day, it's human.
Yep. We got a response.
Yeah. So we have free will because we have choices between good and evil. All right. So to that, I'm gonna say this: do we really? I'm glad my uncle's awake right now. So listen.
Yeah, so am I.
Do we really?
Even though, wait a minute, we're a little derailed from our original conversation, but this is good.
It is okay. Do we really have free will? Because let me say this: they say God already knows what's going to happen in everybody's life, or God knows what's going to happen in the world as a whole. He already knows this. So this is going like we're going to have another of like a part 2, part 3, whatever.
Yeah.
About this, but
Different
so
things. This will be in it too.
if God already knows what's going to happen, the question is this: do we live in a matrix? Is life in a simulation?
Because is it pre-programmed? Is it pre-programmed? Exactly. Is this all right? Well, this is already a set of rules that we're programmed into it. Yeah, I can understand.
Now, if God already knows what's going to happen, we don't really have free will because it's already the way of life is already written according to biblical text, right? So it's not free will. It's an illusion. It's a thought. Like you said, you have the choice to do what you want. Sure. Do we have the freedom? Do we have the choice to do what we want to do? Yes. But guess what? With every action, there's a reaction. So
that's science.
See, back to when we talk about science. So, like, if we say I want to live to be 100, guess what? We're not going to live to be 100. God said this in Genesis. When Eve convinced Adam to take from the tree of life, it is already determined that you're going to die. A man is going to work hard as fuck, and the woman's going to bear children. That's what it says in Genesis.
You are so passionate. You are shouting into the mic.
I apologize because I am built on intelligence, and I love this shit. When people talk about this free will and they talk about this religion shit, I listen. I'm not no atheist. I believe in a higher power, but when they talk about this Bible stuff, listen. I have so much in my head that like it'll discredit everything in the Bible. Like seriously. So I'm animated right now. Right now I'm hyped. We don't have free will. They say God knows everything is going to happen. You know, video games, when they say role-playing games, RPGs, that's what they call them. So only the creator of that game knows what's going to happen. Now, us as consumers, we buy that video game. We don't know what's going to happen, but we play that game. You understand what I'm saying?
We can experience it.
We experienced it, but we don't know what's going to happen until we play the game and we complete the game. So,
but then wait. All right. So with that, okay. Now let's say we bring it into a hacker. Okay. Now a hacker can go into the code and find out what's going on, and they can make shortcuts. And they can be like, hey, you know what? I should have this power. I want to be able to have God mode. So they can hack it and put in a code. But then the creator, the creator of the game is like, whoa. You're not supposed to have this access. We're going to kick you out. Adam and Eve, we're going to kick you out of Eden. So, we're going to kick you out.
And that's what I'm getting at. So how do we know that life is not a simulation? And we were talking about aliens. How do we know that aliens didn't create the universe? How do we know that?
Well, not only that, how do we know that we are the only ones or the first? For all we know, the aliens actually created us and they left us here as like a little experiment to be like, let's see what happens.
How do we know that we're not the aliens movie or video game?
Yep.
Because when you play these role-playing games, like, I don't know if you play games, but this is the thing. So the game has alternate endings, right? It's one game, but it has alternate endings. It depends on a choice. They might ask you a question in the video game. This person said, I'm going to kill your mother. How you want to respond? You right?
Oh, yeah, multiple choice. Choose your own adventure. Yeah.
And so that's called a simulation. It's called being in the matrix. It's a choice. So how do we know that we are not a game or a simulation for aliens? How do we know?
Funny enough, there has actually been proof through scientific things that there is very strong evidence that we actually are in a simulation. and that it is
Right.
actually technically possible for us to be in a simulation, and it wouldn't require as much power as initially thought. Oh
Oh, I
Lord.
gotta put this up there. Hold
Oh
on.
yeah, we got a big one.
Lets you what it says now the Bible lets you, I guess, know that life and death is the power in a tongue. So what we speak over our lives is what the end going to be. So if a person we want live what beyond 100, we can become what we speak over our lives. We can no. Ain't nobody gonna live. No, see that. If it's like people listen to 100, 400, I've heard of that, but I don't believe it. Think that like people see now, people that like, and like people think that they one age. Like I think it's a whole bunch of fucking misconceptions here. Like I don't think people really live past a normal life, right? Like, but back to what we were saying about assimilation, real quick, and we could get back to that.
Yeah.
If take aliens out of the equation, if there's a God, how we know that we're not living in a simulation according to God? We might be a video game for God. We might be a movie for God. Here, so they say that the creator, the only one that knows what's going to happen, right? So like God, they say God is the creator, so he the only one that's going to happen. So when you talk about free will, maybe say, "Oh, I've been given choices," because when we play role playing games, they give us a choice in the game. You play RPGs before,
Yeah.
so like you can go up to somebody and they give you three different possibilities. They say, "How do you want to respond?" or "What path do you want to take?" Right? So that's an RPG. That's a role playing game. That is an assimilation. So how do we know that life as we know it is not a simulation for God or aliens? How do we know?
Well, that's the thing, is that we wouldn't definitively know for sure unless they wind
Oh
up
God. So
there's a God because you woke up this morning. That's sweet.
how do we?
That's
He says,
nice. That's sweet.
how do we know? How do we know that God is not an alien?
And how do we know that he's not in the real world? How do we know that we are the real world? There may be a real world outside of us.
Because look, they say God, you can't see him. He's in the spirit form, right? So
just like The Sims. You play The Sims before? You know the game The Sims?
I play a little bit.
You know of it though. So basically, The Sims don't know that you're controlling them. They don't know that they're in a simulation. They have no idea. They just know whatever their worldview is and whatever they're told to know. So we are the creators for them. So once we boot up The Sims, we are God, and that's a God simulation game. So we become. And we know what they're going to do. We script in there saying, okay, they have to go to work today, or they have to put the the baby in the oven or whatever, all the crazy stuff.
We are the God of that game. You know what I'm saying?
We are the God of that game. So who's to say that there isn't a God to our game, us now?
Let's talk about the war. All the many wars we fought in, right, as the United States. When you're held captive, right, you're a prisoner, and they program you, because essentially that's what they do. They program you.
Brainwash you.
They brainwash you. You know what I'm trying to say? So that is an assimilation. If you can brainwash somebody to act accordingly and do as you say, that's an assimilation.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. God, how do we know God is not an alien? Now earlier when I was saying, when I asked you this, I said, have you ever wondered, what I say, have you ever wondered how the human mind could be that powerful enough to come up with such creations, right? How do we know that's not an alien being that's that intelligent, right? Because come on, like I was saying, like a lot of things that's created in the world, you be like, how the fuck can somebody possibly think of that? I think remember earlier I said godly. I think it's godly. Maybe it's alienistic. Maybe the aliens sit there and say, we're superior.
Yep.
Boom. This is what I want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so yeah, so he didn't say nothing after that. But like that's all I'm saying, right? And I'm not saying I believe in aliens per se, but do I think it's a possibility? Sure. Because
I
if God
totally
is a
believe in them. 100%.
my thing is this. I feel like if you think that God is a thing, I feel like you should believe that aliens is a thing. That's just how I feel.
Yep,
You know
I
what I'm saying?
100% believe. Now, it may not be the alien. I mean, I believe there's all different types of alien. There's the stereotypical ones that you see on TV, the gray ones, the tall ones, the skinny ones, the one with the eyes, the big eyes. Sure, but then there's also ones that are human-like. You wouldn't even know.
Right.
You'd have no idea. They could walk amongst you. You wouldn't even have any idea.
See, that's another thing that crosses my mind, but I'm gonna say this. So it's funny because according to the Bible, it says that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, right? He never mentioned that it was a such thing as hell, right? So remember before I asked you if you believe in heaven and hell. So in
I
the
told
Bible,
you I don't think there's a hell. I don't think it
yeah,
is because
yeah,
when it says it right in the beginning. It goes create the heavens and the earth. It
yeah,
didn't say hell.
exactly. It said God created the heavens and the earth, right? He never said hell, but Christians and believers that say there's such thing as hell. Where are you getting that from? It don't say that in the fucking Bible. It
Nope.
don't say God created the fucking hell. You know what I'm saying? So where are you getting this
Plus,
shit from?
here's the real question: is that I always ask what people think are trivial questions, and it's funny because no one actually gives me an answer. The best answer I got is that, well, it's man who is describing these things, which is why it's not quite perfect. Like I'll say, okay, fine. If the devil was supposed to be trying to overthrow the throne of God's throne, first of all, how could God even allow that to even happen? Why is there a devil then? How could the devil even think that he could do that if God is supposed to be so powerful? Second, so if that's true and that he failed, and then why would God be like, all right, you know what? You tried to take me over and you tried to overthrow me and kick me down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you rule over an entire kingdom down in hell. Why? Why not? Why not just obliterate him? So if that's the case, then if he's all powerful, just obliterate him, just to make him non-existent. And then second question was, and I asked multiple interesting things, is Adam and Eve, right? They're the first, right? You would say that they're the first. They're supposed to be the first. Why in the hell do they have belly buttons? If they're the first, why do they have belly buttons?
I'm a little confused about that. What belly buttons got to do anything?
If they are the first, right? They're supposed to be the first humans, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what has a belly button? Anything that was born has a belly button, an umbilical cord. That's what your belly button is. So how the hell can Adam and Eve have belly buttons if they were never born? Because they're the first.
Right.
So how the hell they have belly buttons?
Did
God just randomly decide, you know what? Just for looks, I'm going to give you belly buttons.
I mean,
and I know it sounds silly and stupid, but it's little tiny things like that that I'm like, that doesn't make no sense.
No, it actually don't. At first, I was like, where the hell he going with this? But like, as you broke it down, I was like, yeah, you know what? I understand where he's going. I mean,
and on top of that, okay, fine. Let's say Adam and Eve were thrown out of Eden, okay, because God got angry because we broke the rules. Adam and Eve broke the rules. Technically, Eve broke the rule and then convinced Adam to break it. So therefore, they're both at fault. Whatever. They get thrown out of the Garden of Eden. Okay, well, I thought God was all merciful. I thought he forgives. I thought he forgives all. But then, no, he didn't, because we're not back in Eden. Even after his son came and died for our sins, we're still not back in Eden. How? Why? I thought we were forgiven. But apparently not. And there may be answers, and Lyndall might actually have some of those, or somebody else watching may have those answers. But
So it's very interesting how you broke it down. You know what I'm saying? Like, if God was supposed to be merciful, like, listen, that put a lot of. So listen, people that's religious or they say they walk. I guarantee you, they ain't got no answer for that. They're gonna sit there and say, "Oh, why would you think this way?" They're gonna try to divert. That's what they're gonna do.
Well, it's the quick thing they do. Everybody always does it. They're like, "Oh, you're just trying to troll. You're just trying to be stupid." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I actually, these sound like silly questions, but I want a real answer."
So I gotta put this comment up here real quick. I was about to,
Maddie,
wrap up with that. Yeah, what version and publication of the Bible do you study?
That must be your question, because
so all right. So I'm gonna say this, Hassan. Not to put your government out there, but Hassan, Danny doesn't believe in the Bible. He's not religious, nothing like that. But for me, and I didn't know you was religious, but I'm gonna say this: I'm not religious. Hold on, let me put this up here first before I go in. It says no Bible say the same thing. So what's the answer to the question? Oh man. So look, my thing is I believe in higher power. I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the messages in the Bible. I believe the Bible is a book of poetry, not a book of history. I believe.
But just remember this: there's multiple. That's what he's saying, is that there's many Bibles, and they all say different stuff because it's different parts of history. They're all describing something different.
Well, the verbiage is different, but the overall concept and meaning are the same, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. The overall message is the same, right? Like,
yeah.
So, like, a lot of people don't know that, like, when people say they're Catholics are Christians, right? At the end of the day, they're still Christians if you do the history, the research.
There's nuances, but yes.
There's little things that they believe that's different, but the overall message is the same.
Of course, be good.
Right. So I don't know how we got a lot of people want to talk about the religion and Bible.
Look at this. You got more people talking about religion than I've ever seen.
So we can tune into the religious.
Yeah, there's a whole religious podcast, peoples.
There is. But like, so like, back to what he said. He said no Bible say the same thing. So what's the answer to the question? I mean, I think, like I said, the overall message is the same. Like, so that, like, the King James version, the NIL.
I think that's the most popular, King James.
Yeah, the overall message is the same, but the verbiage is slightly different. So if the overall message is the same, guess what? To me, it's the same story. You know what I'm saying? So this is the crazy thing. I want to mention this on my next religious podcast. I have the King James version. My younger brother has the King James version. My older brother has the King James version. The week before last, we was talking about something. We all said, "Oh, grab the Bible. Let's read it." So as they was reading it, I'm reading mine. I'm like, "Oh shit, my shit don't say that. My shit is slightly off."
Isn't that's like being in class and everyone has the same book, but yours is just a little different, and you're like, "What? Wait, what? No."
Three of us had the King James version, but all three of us had different verbiage, and that's what I'm saying. So, as you said early on, listen, the Bible is man-made. A lot of people don't agree. Religious people don't agree with that. But listen, what happens when things come into customs in the United States?
What happens? What?
When things come into customs?
Well, they get checked and then rejected or accepted.
Exactly. So if the United States of America is like, I don't like that, well, I don't agree with that. Guess what? They change it to their liking. If they don't change it, they reject it. If they accept it, they change it to their liking, and that's what happens. So
Well, it's called
we got
history is written by the winners. History is
so
always written by the winners. So we only know the stuff that came through.
right. Well, none of us are Hebrews, and we don't understand or read or speak Hebrew, right? So it's like if the Bible says it was written in Hebrew, and it comes in the
I do know
customs,
people. I do know people who are from Israel. I know a woman who's from Israel.
right?
I also know Georgia.
Listen, that's neither here nor there. What I'm
That's
saying is, when it
Fridays.
comes to
Fridays on the religious podcast. Most Fridays when you can, when you're not sick. So tune in.
So like what I'm saying is like when it comes to customs, like if the government, the United States, they don't like it, they change to like it. That's why a lot of people, including myself, say the Bible is man-made, right? And we
Well, I
manipulate
mean, it
things.
is man-made, but it's supposed to be a depiction of what God's word is through
Oh,
man.
let me read this very quick. Just take a note
Oh, he's
that
saying
the
that there's
King
multiple
James version
versions.
have different versions of the. Come on, man, stop playing with me.
What?
I was under still reading. You already was like, oh, he's trying to say this. I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So like, I have family that's highly religious, and when I talk about these debates, they get mad. You know what I'm saying? So like, but it's really.
Well,
I
here's
got
the
to text.
thing.
Who's that?
No one should get mad about that kind of stuff, because once you get mad, that's when you lost. Now, anybody who is asking the questions, well, they should be educated, and it should be calm, and it should be with knowledge. It shouldn't be with anger. So even the most ridiculous things should not be met with anger and, putting it down and everything. It tends to happen a lot. That's a heck of a lot. This person knows way more than me, and maybe you.
Wait,
I don't know.
wait. One King James Bible will have 63 books. It's just one King James will have 63. I never heard of 73. My whole life, I know about 63 books. And the Old Testament has 63 books. He said, which one do you follow? I don't follow neither. I told you. I believe in a higher power. I don't believe in the Bible and the stories in the Bible. I think the
I think
Bible
he's trying. You know what? I think he's trying to pin down which one you're trying to reference, and the answer is none of them, because you haven't read all of them. So
no, I've read the 63 books of the Old Testament.
you read 63 books.
Yes.
That didn't sound confident. Did you really? You really read?
No,
you read 63
no.
books, King James Bibles?
I have.
How big are these books?
Testament. No, the Old Testament.
Are they like Goosebumps?
Listen to me. I never read the New Testament. I couldn't tell you. Oh, he gonna say, look
at this shit. All right, I like him.
Y'all both terrible. I read. Oh my God, he keep going. He trolling right now.
Yeah,
like I read 63 books because there's 63 books in the Old Testament. I never read the New Testament. I couldn't tell you shit that happened in the New Testament, right? But
it's okay. It was different writers, so
listen, I'm not a believer in nothing like that. But I am now trying to understand the Bible as we know it, mainly to discredit the Bible. But like I tell people, if you can convert me, that's it. If you can make me a believer, then so be it. But until then, I'm going to discredit the Bible.
But
I feel like it's a lot of contradictions.
I think you and me run on something that's a little more.
Listen, the Old Testament has 39 books. That's what? Oh, come on, Unc. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. 39, no, it's more than 39. And the New has 27 altogether. There are 66 books. No, that's false, Unc. He gonna make me go get my Bible. He's terrible.
Where's the fact checkers? We don't have no fact checkers. So anyway, all right, listen. So bottom line of this thing, and now we're gonna. Oh, look at that. We're getting back and forth. Anyway, so bottom line is that you and myself, have only surface level of Bible information. I'm going to go out there and say that. We don't have in-depth like these other people do. You know, they have much more in-depth knowledge about it, and I could never stand up against either one of them, I'm sure. But our surface level knowledge of it, we can debate that. But again, the people in chat are definitely more educated than definitely me. And also there's a good possibility that they have quicker Google skills, or possibly just actual knowledge of this that we don't have. So
man, look, you see what he said? He's
well, wonderful. I mean, I don't argue on feelings. I argue on logic, because it is logically, you must have more knowledge about this, because you came up with numbers that 100% I can't prove. So therefore, if you are so specific about it, so you must have more knowledge about it than me. Which is great, because then I would like to learn. I would like to learn more.
And then let me say this, like, unwillingly, like, I was forced into religion growing up. You know, I was forced to go to church and all this stuff. So,
so was I.
For me, so I feel like I have, like, I'm not saying I'm a scholar. I'm not a scholar, right? But it's a lot of shit about the Bible that I do know that the average person that don't. I feel like I'm more spiritually sound than people that claim they religious. I honestly feel that way. I was forced into that life, and that's what made me turn my back on it, right? Like, so I know a lot of stuff that people that claim they scholars, they can't answer. Once you got people backpedaling, they be like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I can't answer that. I feel like it's a success on my part. I feel like I win. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, he said,
but backpedaling doesn't necessarily mean you're winning. It just means that they need to gather more information. You may have surprised them with something that they don't know, just like you were surprised about 66 books and then 70 something books. You were surprised about it. You didn't know.
Oh no, it's only 66 in the Old Testament. So I was telling my uncle,
I have someone here who will debate you on that.
You really?
Oh, of course. Maddie will debate you on that.
No, I don't think he said anything about that.
He said there was 74 other books. And
oh, my God. Look, I said, he didn't say nothing about that. Now he going to say, yep. In the Old Testament, there's 66 books. And I forget how many is in the New Testament. I told you, I don't know nothing about the New Testament. Hold on.
Hey, but just because you don't know doesn't mean it ain't happened.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
we can't listen. We can't argue without information. Clearly, there are many people who have more information than us. We can have an active conversation about it. Absolutely. Are we going to win? Right. No, because we have lack severe knowledge of it. So,
what did it say? According to the Bible, who was Adam's first wife? What? Eve.
It wasn't Eve.
No, it was Eve. What do you mean? It was Eve, because God said it to be.
No. Eve, I believe, was created of Adam.
No,
Maddie, we need you gotta respond.
Oh God! But that was his first wife, according to the Bible. Oh God, there we go.
The Gnostic Bible, according to the Gnostic Bible, his first wife was Cindy.
Cindy? I never heard no Cindy. Yo, you know what's crazy, bro? Yo, Hassan, I'm gonna have to do my research. Look, listen, see, this is the you know what's crazy? You responding today, right? And this wasn't even based on religion. You need to tune in to either tomorrow or Saturday.
You gotta tune into Fridays, man. You got good information, and Fridays when they do religious talk, you'll have a lot more power behind it.
My younger brother, he studies the Bible. He is
so long as your younger brother can keep his cool and not be angry with a challenge.
He can always. That's one thing I can say about him. My older brother, on the other end,
emotion.
But my younger brother, yeah. So you want to? Oh God, what the? That's a whole number. Hold on, hey Benny, hold the foot down. I gotta use the bathroom. Hold the
Go
foot down.
for it. Oh yeah, we got active peoples now. Let's see. His first wife did not want to stay in the heavens, so she decided to disobey God, and she rode with the devil, so that there is this image of a lady, the snakes coming out of her head, Medusa. That's where it comes in. That isn't that I believe that also goes with the Greek gods, right? Where she went with the devil to the underworld, and they were together. It was God, and then yes, that's right. He was alone and created Eve of the rib of Adam, I believe, to be a mate. Greek. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. See, now we're getting a good chat going on now. See, Facebook. We've got some people are going through, but I encourage both of you absolutely to watch and follow him on his Friday. He speaks of this stuff, and there are other of his brothers who have way more information than I.
See, I just got back. I'm gonna look at these other comments real quick.
You gotta catch up.
The Bible was in Greek, and that's where Cindy comes from. But I never heard no Cindy. I'm gonna have to look it up. My uncle says, "Open your Bible and count from Matthew to Revelations. That will give you the exact number of how many books there is in the new." And then what he says, Cindy, and then this one says, "You small."
Yeah, me.
Oh. Listen, I should have grabbed my Bible coming in here because yeah.
No, you should not have, because that is a Friday thing.
No, you're right. But like, I didn't think it was gonna go into religion like this. I was gonna touch the service of religion.
Remember how we started this? We started this with creation, and creation is hand in hand with science and religion.
Oh God, what did it say?
Yeah, the Gnostic Bible is older. But I think the King James revision is supposed to be something else. Anyway, no. Facebook hijacking this. So
I know.
So
that's Fridays, man. Typically it's on Fridays. But so this week, I'm not sure. All right, so I'm gonna say this real quick. So I'm either gonna have my religious podcast episode tomorrow at like 8:30, or it's gonna be Saturday. So because I have plans with one of my kids on Saturday.
Well, it'll be to be determined. It'll be notified. Everyone will get a notification of when it's going to be.
So I switched my days. So instead of being off Friday, I need it off Saturday. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. So now, typically, my religious conversations with my younger and my older brother. My older brother said he's not available Saturday.
If you want, I can join in too. I'm not as educated, but I am fun to talk to.
You're right. And listen, if you want to do it, I'm okay with it because my brothers stay well with you.
Now, I'm also willing to learn.
This thing, my younger brother, and my older brother, they dying to have you on because they want to because I told them your point of views, so they dying to have you on.
So they're gonna try to convert me. That's what they're gonna do. I know. I'm gonna be like, nah. Why do they have belly buttons? And then they're gonna be like, oh, this guy.
So my younger brother, he's available whenever, right? So. Whether it's tomorrow or Saturday, I know he's going to be on.
Disappointingly, tomorrow I do have a prior commitment I have to do. So if it was going to happen, it would have to happen later, more in the evening.
Okay, well, see, that'd be out because I got to work tomorrow. Because I'm saying I switched my days. And as far as
maybe a Saturday broadcast.
My on Saturday, my older brother he has obligations, so it'll be my younger brother, and I'm okay with that if it's just him.
It's okay.
And I'm off that day, but it's a lot of things going on. Like what's happening Saturday morning? Saturday morning, shit, I don't even remember. I got something going on Saturday morning and Saturday night, so it had to be
Okay, you
somewhere
don't have
in
to commit to it
between.
now.
No, it's something in between, but I definitely want to have it because I'm trying to be consistent. I didn't have nothing last week, so I'm definitely having it this week. So it's either going to be tomorrow at 8:30 or Saturday.
Well,
Right?
we've gone 23 minutes beyond. This is pretty darn good. So
yeah, you're right. You're right. So I was about to close up shop, but then like I said, the messages kept me intrigued. The
of
messages kept me
course.
going.
Oh, I wish we need to get more people message engaged earlier on. That would be fantastic. so
I'm gonna say this. Go ahead. Say what you're saying.
My final notes is that we're going to have many more conversations because we still have to touch on the Matrix we brought up. We're going to also touch on, we already started talking about the God situation. We were going to talk about aliens, panspermia, possibly where life created, whether or not we were created from other aliens or whatnot. We have lots more stuff we're going to wind up doing.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, I'd love to be on the
Oh, I'm sorry,
Christian
my girlfriend put this because I was fumbling. I said I forgot something going on.
Football game than wrestling.
Yeah. So I apologize. I feel like I'm an ass. So
Thank you, Marty.
my son has an all-star game because he was he played football. So he got an all-star game in the morning. So I'm 1,000% going to that. And then later at night, because we watch wrestling together when I can. He watch more than I do because I'm always at work. But when we can, we watch wrestling. So we have a wrestling event happening in where the fuck is it at? Philly? I think Philly. Yeah, okay. Philly. So then we gotta go down to Philly, but that's at nighttime. So that's what we're doing. So my podcast is gonna be in between those times because his game is at 10:30 in the morning. So I will find a time. I will definitely have that podcast. And then what's this? By the grace of God,
he's got to roll out.
Be safe, peace. All right.
But yeah, we're going to talk about aliens. He called the last of it. So yeah, we'll talk about a lot more stuff. You're going to post. You're going to post on your Facebook, and I'm going to. If I'm part of it, I'll be posting on mine too. Hopefully more people will join. See if we can get a little earlier. I'll see if I can rally up more people. So,
right.
And then
I appreciate that.
We'll do our best.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said, that concludes today's episode, right? We hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure you tune into next week's episode. Well, not before next week's. This week's, whether it's tomorrow or Saturday. And then after that, make sure you tune into next week's episode. And, at the end of the day, just like, share, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all the love, and let's keep this thing moving, man. And Danny, we will schedule sometime next week to.
Yep. There'll be many more.
Continue, and just so you know, from what. I am on vacation from my job from let me look at the calendar. What am I off? Yeah, we in October. I thought it was from 11. I guess I'm wrong because it wouldn't. That don't make sense because it's Monday through Sunday. Anyways, I'm gonna be off for a week.
That's fine. All right. Well, you'll post it.
Oh, you know what? That's what, because I'm in October, so it'll go to November. So it is November. So from the 11th to the 17th, I am off from work. I am free every day.
So Veterans Day till the end of the week.
So yeah, I might even have 4 podcast episodes that week. I don't know. We will see.
We'll see. We try to do back-to-backs.
We can do back-to-backs. Religious. And I'm gonna start doing some unscripted, just full-fledged, just
full-on BS sessions. We do good. Sessions. We do good with BS sessions.
Absolutely. But that's going to conclude today's episode, and Danny, we'll catch up. All right.
Sounds great. All
All
right.
right. So I'm gonna say good night for now.
Good night.
All right.